States as follows. Article 2 of the Constitution requires that the executive branch, which today includes the Secretary of Homeland Security, ensure the laws passed by Congress and signed into law by the President are faithfully executed. The Secure Fence Act of 2006, Public Law 109 through 367, requires that the Secretary of Homeland Security maintain operational control over the entire international land and maritime borders of the United States. In his willful admittance of border crossers, terrorists, human traffickers, drugs, and other contraband, Alejandro Nicolas Mayorkas has failed to maintain operational control of the border, thereby violating the Secure Fence Act of 2006. The Guarantee Clause set forth in Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution dictates, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion and on application of the legislature or of the executive when the legislature cannot be convened against domestic violence. The Guarantee Clause clearly dictates that the federal government has a constitutional duty and obligation to protect each of the states from invasion. As Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas has violated his oath to uphold this constitutional duty by allowing the invasion of approximately 10 million illegals across our borders. The ongoing invasion at our southern border is a direct national security threat against the states and against the citizens therein. Secretary Mayorkas has willfully abandoned his duty to secure the border and protect states against invasion, thereby violating Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. To wit, since Mayorkas has headed the Department of Homeland Security, there have been approximately 10 million illegal border crossers who have invaded our country at our border. This is broken down between 8 million encounters and approximately 1,800,000 known gotaways who have evaded United States authorities and are roaming the interior of the United States. At least 280 people on terrorist watch list caught while attempting to cross the border between ports of entry. Approximately 400,000 unaccompanied illegal alien children encountered at the southern border, with at least 85,000 of these children having gone missing. At least 1,424 deaths of illegals at the southern border. Approximately 73,000 special interest aliens arrested at our border, which are aliens from a nation that promotes terrorist activity, harbors terrorists, or poses a security threat to the United States. This is the number arrested at the border, not counting, however, many of the 1,800,000 known gotaways are special interest aliens. Approximately 659 special interest aliens from Iran. Approximately 6,386 special interest aliens from Afghanistan. Approximately 538 special interest aliens from Syria. Approximately 3,153 special interest aliens from Egypt. Approximately 12,624 special interest aliens from Uzbekistan. Approximately 30,830 special interest aliens from Turkey. Approximately 1,613 special interest aliens from Pakistan. Approximately 164 special interest aliens from Lebanon. Approximately 185 special interest aliens from Jordan. Approximately 123 special interest aliens from Iraq, and approximately 15,594 special interest aliens from Mauritania. In fiscal year 2021, Customs and Border Patrol seized approximately 11,200 pounds of fentanyl, In fiscal year 2022, CBP seized approximately 14,700 pounds of fentanyl. In fiscal year 2023, CBP has seized a record of approximately 27,000 pounds of fentanyl. Over 70,000 Americans died from fentanyl in fiscal year 2022. Fentanyl is now the #1 killer of Americans between the ages of 18 and 45. Fentanyl kills approximately 300 Americans a day. This is the amount of fentanyl that has been seized at the border, yet 300 Americans are being killed by fentanyl poisoning every. Fentanyl poisoning every.
Crane and energy company Burisma. 4 key facts about Hunter Biden's involvement with this company and Joe Biden's involvement. First, Hunter Biden gets put on the board of Burisma. Second, he's not qualified to be on the board of Burisma. Don't take my word for it. He said it himself. Third, he's asked by the executives of Burisma, can you weigh in with Washington, with D.C. to help alleviate the pressure we are under? 3 days later, the Vice President of the United States, now President Joe Biden, goes to Ukraine and conditions American tax dollars for Ukraine on the firing of the prosecutor who was applying the pressure to the company Hunter Biden was on the board of. That's why we're going with an official impeachment inquiry vote today. That's why this needs to be investigated. There are 2 resolutions we're considering. Resolution 918 and Resolution 917 incorporated if we pass 918. 3 names mentioned in those 2 resolutions. One name, of course, is Joe Biden, President of the United States. But the other 2 names in Resolution 917 are 2 DOJ tax lawyers, Mark Daly and Jack Morgan. 2 guys we want to talk to that the Biden Justice Department says we're not going to let you talk to them. With this vote, we think we get to talk to those individuals. And here's why it's important. These guys, these 2 individuals, initially said there should be felony tax charges for 2014, 2015 in the Hunter Biden investigation. And that's important because those are the years when the bulk of the income from Burisma came to Hunter Biden. They initially said there should be felony tax charges for those years. Then they changed their position. 8 months later, they changed their position. We want to know why. Why did you let the statute of limitations, intentionally let the statute of limitations lapse for those years? My theory is it's one thing to charge Hunter Biden on a gun charge in Delaware. It's another thing to say we're not going to charge, another thing to charge him on Burisma tax years, because that gets you to Joe Biden. That gets you to the White House. That's why we need this vote. The impeachment power, as the chairman said, is a power that solely resides in the House. When you have a majority of the House of Representatives go on record, that sends a message. We think we get timely participation from the witnesses we need to talk to and the documents Mr. Comer has been seeking. Finally, I would say this about this changing story from the White House, this changing story from the Justice Department. Today, Hunter Biden did a press conference. He was supposed to be in a deposition. He did a press conference. And at that press conference, he said, my father was not financially involved in the business. Well, that's an important qualifier. We haven't heard that. For 3 years, we haven't heard that. All we've heard is Joe Biden had no involvement. Now his son does a press conference when he's supposed to be being deposed and says he wasn't financially involved. Well, what involvement was it? We know there was phone calls, dinners, and meetings. What involvement was it? That's why we want to ask these questions with important witnesses. That's why this resolution is important. I urge a yes vote. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I need to get a decoder ring. I now yield 1.5 minutes to the gentlewoman from New Mexico, a distinguished member of the Rules Committee, Ms. Legba Fernandez.
Gentleman from New Mexico is recognized for 90 seconds.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, every conspiracy theory we just heard has been debunked, not true, and distorted from the facts. Because this impeachment inquiry is political vengeance directed by a twice-impeached, 4 times indicted president and carried out by extreme MAGA Republicans. Republicans rejected my amendment to require the committees to hold at least one public hearing. Why? Because 11 months and a mountain of evidence and documents gathered so far proves that President Biden respected the rule of law and fought corruption. Republicans want to continue a secret investigation so they can distort the facts. For example, Republicans tried to create a scandal about the $4,140 Hunter paid to his dad in 2018. What really happened? Joe Biden paid his son's truck payments while Hunter struggled with addiction. Hunter paid his dad back. A parent's love is never without pain. A parent doesn't stop loving a child struggling with addiction. Americans will see in those truck payments some of their own attempts to help their struggling kids. Shame on my colleagues for politicizing a parent's pain. Americans know what evidence of an impeachment looks like. The Capitol Police, who were battered and beaten as Trump tried to overturn an election, know what an impeachable offense feels like. This puppet show is more of the same attack on our democracy that we saw here.
The lady's time has expired. The gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to my very good friend, distinguished lady from Indiana, Ms. Houchin, also a distinguished member of the Rules Committee.
The gentlelady is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, today, on the very day Hunter Biden ignored a subpoena from this body, we will vote to take the next critical step in formalizing the House's impeachment inquiry into President Biden. For months, the White House and Hunter Biden have been stonewalling our investigation, trying to hide the truth. And this stonewalling is what's caused us to be here today. Like Chairman Cole said yesterday, it's deeply sad. It's a sad day, not something any of us want to be doing on this House floor, but it has become necessary. Following today's floor vote on HRES 918, the committees on oversight, accountability, ways and means, and judiciary will have greater legal position and subpoena power to fully investigate allegations of influence peddling and wrongdoing by President Biden, his family, and his associates. The American people deserve transparency and accountability. They deserve the truth. And that's exactly what they're going to get from this Republican House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I should remind the gentlelady that Hunter Biden was here today. He wants to testify in public. But Republicans said no because they wanted to do it behind closed doors so they can go on Fox News and cherry-pick facts and figures and distort the truth. Mr. Speaker, Republicans aren't interested in transparency in this investigation, and apparently the Rules Committee isn't either. In our markup yesterday, Democrats offered 9 amendments. They were all voted down by Republicans, but in the official Rules Committee report, contrary to years of committee practice and tradition, the majority left out descriptions of those amendments. So instead of reading, for example, that Republicans defeated an amendment to add, quote, open and transparent to investigative proceedings, members of the public will only see that Republicans voted down, quote, amendment number 4. Instead of defeating an amendment requiring committees to hold an open hearing as part of the investigation, the record will show that the majority simply voted down, quote, amendment number 5. Republicans are literally hiding Democratic amendments about transparency. You cannot make this stuff up. And this is especially shocking to me because it is so aligned with the way this committee has run historically under this chairman. And I'm deeply disappointed, and I hope that this isn't an indication of how the majority intends to operate in the future. So to make sure that these amendments show up somewhere in the historical record, I'm going to put the summaries in the congressional record. And I ask unanimous consent to insert for the record the summaries of our 9 amendments, which Republicans intentionally left out of the Rules Committee report.
Without objection. Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Just quickly, I yield myself some time as I may consume. Just for the record, all these amendments are on the website of the Rules Committee. It's not like they're mysteriously hidden someplace. They're in plain view on the website of the Rules Committee. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield 2 minutes to my good friend, the gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Norman, also a distinguished member of the Rules Committee.
The gentleman from South Carolina is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Speaker. I rise today in full support of this impeachment inquiry. I hope all the public tunes in to the Rules Committee yesterday. My question, what are you scared of? What are you scared of? What facts do you not want to come out? That was so evident. You spent more time quoting Donald Trump, the January 6th, anything but the facts about what Hunter Biden and his family did. The checks don't make themselves up that are written to this family. The LLC accounts don't make themselves up. It's facts. And what more to come out that you're hiding is so evident. This resolution follows the bar set by Democrats during the impeachment proceedings in 2019. We're playing by the same rules the Democrats set. If Democrats thought this process was fair for President Trump, they should think it's fair for President Biden. And know the Bidens are the evidence, I think, as things come out, will finally show what the trail is and the fact that there are consequences. You cannot just not say you're innocent and not have to prove it. So I fully support this inquiry, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. Members are reminded to direct their remarks to the chair. The gentleman from Oklahoma Reserve, gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Yeah, and Mr. Speaker, members should be advised that Joe Biden, not Hunter Biden, is President of the United States. I now yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from New York, the distinguished ranking member of the Committee on the Judiciary, Mr. Nadler.
Thank you, Mr.
The
Chairman.
gentleman from New York is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, we all know why we're here today. The majority has no accomplishments to speak of. Their own members have said so, and the right wing is getting restless. So since they can't legislate and run on anything positive, they've decided to tear down President Biden instead. They have no evidence, of course, to support this inquiry, but since this majority never lets facts get in the way of a good set of Fox News talking points, here we are. Dozens of witnesses have sat for transcribed interviews, and every one of those witnesses tells us the same thing. There was no political interference in the Hunter Biden case. Nobody at the Department of Justice ever blocked the special counsel from bringing charges. Unfortunately, the American public does not have most of this story because Chairman Jordan refuses to release the transcripts from our interviews. In fact, of the 85 interviews our committee has conducted so far, he has released exactly 1 transcript. He knows that if he releases any more than that, his preferred narrative will crumble. The evidence simply does not support these baseless charges. So why is the MAGA wing of the Republican Party resorting to this political stunt? 2 words: Donald Trump. The likely nominee of the Republican Party, who faces 91 criminal charges in various courts, was also impeached not once but twice. And we had evidence. And whenever the former president is accused of wrongdoing, his favorite move is to accuse his opponent of doing the same. For this to work, of course, he needs President Biden to be impeached too. And so he asked his enablers in Congress to invent an impeachment, even if there's not a shred of evidence to back it up. And even if everything Chairman Comer said were true, which none of it is, an impeachable offense committed by Vice President Biden would not be under our Constitution grounds for impeaching President Biden. This is political hackery, not serious work. We should be focused on doing the work of the American people and not be distracted by pernicious nonsense. I urge all members to vote no on this ridiculous resolution. Now yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to my good friend, distinguished gentleman from Texas, Mr. Roy, also a member of the Rules Committee.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank the Speaker. I thank the Chairman. This is an impeachment inquiry, defined as an act of asking for information. Nothing more, nothing less. The inquiry is to further investigate at least 3 things. 1, the extent to which Joe Biden, as Vice President, was involved with the flow of millions of dollars from foreign companies and interests in China and Ukraine into the Biden family into numerous shell companies, including Hunter and his involvement. Devin Archer testified the Vice President was in fact at Hunter's business meetings, and there are numerous emails and other evidence indicating that the big guy or dad was involved. 2, the extent to which Joe Biden Biden and his administration have obstructed justice by preventing Jack Morgan and Mark Daley from the Department of Justice from testifying in their involvement in DOJ and IRS deciding to slow walk 2014 tax charges and 2015 charges, so the statute of limitations would lapse. All the more interesting in light of Hunter Biden being indicted just last week on 9 counts of tax offenses for failing to pay $1.4 million in back taxes after writing off hookers and sex calls. All of which was only brought to light because the judge called the law a white sweetheart. By only providing 14 of 82,000 emails with pseudonyms, of which 29,000 were tied to Biden's family business. Third, by limiting the scope of witness testimony to the Department of Justice witnesses over and over and over again. This is an impeachment inquiry. That's all. What are my Democratic colleagues afraid of? Nothing deceiving. Maybe that is all the more reason. I yield back.
Women yield back. The gentleman is recognized for 2 minutes.
I rise in shock and frustration at our Republican colleagues. Seinfeld involved in the impeachment of Uncle Buck. They're leading the most unproductive sessions since the Great Depression. And after manufacturing crisis after crisis, weeks of trying to reinstate their economic recovery non-existent under the spotlight. They say they're utilizing a media expedition to dress up enough the American people to believe. This is not the work of the Greatness of this committee. The greatness of this committee has nothing to do with an impeachment proceeding. How the Ways and Means Committee got involved in this baffles Republican and Democratic members of the committee. This has been nearly a year and not a shred of evidence has shown any wrongdoing or interference by Joe Biden. Their recycled conspiracy theories continue to be debunked. They continue to mistake Congress for what's going on in their laws. Their own public hearing, their own purposes defeated the evidence for warrant moving forward, which I have submitted to the record, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen from South Carolina said we're trying to hide something. I move for the Ways and Means Committee to have the record of the Lord's testimony done in full public observation. They turned it down. Meanwhile, we're staring at another Republican government shutdown at the beginning of tax filing season. Enough of this obsession with one person so much. For Ways and Means Democrats, we are concerned about all members of the American family. And for the taxpayer that is about to be defeated because of the work that's being done on impeachment instead of on tax reform, this is where we find ourselves. Nothing here, no evidence, no wrongdoing after a year. We're wasting time for the American people. We're wasting time for the Congress that should be addressing the real problems of the American family.